For those of you itching for year-round spooky season online content, look no further than Splash of Spooky, a blog and social network dedicated to all things fall and Halloween, the perfect gateway into the new paranormal. Ladies and gentlemen, ghouls and goblins, please welcome the founder of Splash of Spooky, Melissa España. Melissa, let's begin with a lightning round. Favorite Halloween movie?
I have a lot of favorite Halloween movies. I think the main ones are Halloween Town 1 and 2, Hocus Pocus, but not the sequel, and then Jaws and Scream.
Very eclectic list. Favorite Halloween costume from your youth?
I loved when my parents let me do classic Halloween costumes. So there was like 2 years where I was just a classic generic witch. And those are the pictures I always share. I loved being just like a generic character because you never had to explain what you were. When I started picking more like characters that were really like specific to like kids in that generation, all the grown-ups were like, oh, who are you? What are you supposed to be? And I hate that.
Classic indeed. One Halloween tradition you would like to start or at least try?
I really want to do a Halloween 5K. I want to be a Halloween 5K family, and Chicago does a bunch of Halloween 5Ks. They're never on Halloween, but they're in October after the marathon. So this year, I think this is the first year we're just going to try it and just see how it goes.
What's the strangest response you've gotten on a blog post?
I posted something about Summerween, and it was just like a funny video of someone dancing saying, oh, now we get to celebrate Summerween. And someone like commented and tried to make it political and said, oh, this must be Biden's new federal holiday. And Splash of Spooky is not the place to bring any of that anywhere. So I just deleted it. But it was really weird because they didn't follow me. And so I was like, this is just, okay, delete. You're like a bot.
If you could go back in time and be introduced to a fall season relic that we now consider nostalgic for the very first time, what would that be?
I want to go back and experience the Halloween, like, McDonald's Boo Buckets for the very first time. Like, I remember getting them as a kid, but I didn't appreciate them until they came back 2 years ago. So I want to go back and just get one for the very first time, walk into McDonald's with my chicken nuggets, and then leaving with my bucket. Like, I would love to experience that again as a kid.
Right. The newer McDonald's buckets really pale in comparison to the originals. Melissa, how do you celebrate Halloween?
So Halloween, the actual day, is very, very boring for our family compared to what we did throughout the season. And I feel like a lot of people on Spooky IG will say the same thing. Halloween day, you're still at work. Like, it's not a federal holiday. We're all still at work. Kids are at school. Trick-or-treating doesn't start till like 5. So that's kind of all you're really doing. Like, we just go trick-or-treating. We'll order pizza and watch TV, and that's it. Halloween is over. And then you're just like, oh, okay, time for Christmas.
Oh, interesting.
The lead up, like all of October, all of our weekends are completely booked. So my family celebrates the Great Pumpkin. We celebrate the arrival of the Great Pumpkin, and we do that the first weekend of October. So we like invite our family over to my uncle's house. We'll have like a Halloween dinner. My son gets his basket from the Great Pumpkin. We'll do crafts and carve pumpkins. And then every weekend after that, we just have something to do. And then it all just kind of ends on Halloween day.
Understandable, yes. So what inspired you to launch Splash of Spooky?
So Splash of Spooky was started in 2020. April 2020, which is, of course, the height of the pandemic. And at the time, I was working in TV news. I still work in news, but back then I was doing TV, which follows the 24/7 news cycle. And it was a time when social media was just filled with a lot of misinformation and a lot of negativity. And I was working in digital news. So I would spend 8 hours a day posting about the pandemic and about the nationwide unrest. This was around the time of George Floyd and just like daily crime stories that come with living in a big city. It was a lot of negative news. And I would do that for 8 hours a day and then go home and then continue my doom scroll. I was just very sick of just seeing so many like just bad things that I thought, I'm going to start something that makes me happy and that makes other people happy. And I thought, well, I really love fall and none of my friends do. So what if I made an Instagram page where I just share pictures of fall? And I just started posting, and from there, Splashes Spooky grew. And, I made sure to just post things that brought me joy. And through that, I found other people who enjoyed the things I was posting and built this little community. So it really kind of just started out from a need to escape all of the terrible things going on in the world. And I get there's a privilege with being able to do that. But I'm taking advantage of it. If I can escape for a few hours a day, why not? Life sucks. Let's make it suck less. And that's what Splashes Spooky is for.
What a wonderful reason to start up a blog. So I know you're on Instagram and you have an official blog website, but what other platforms are you on?
Yes, because I think it sets it apart from a lot of other Halloween creators. There's many ways to interact with Splashes Spooky. There's a website, there's a newsletter. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, I'm on Threads, and then just visiting the website, which has links to any of the fun things I find in stores. That's kind of where you can find everything, splashespooky.com. I always tell people that I don't own my Instagram page, I don't own my TikTok, but I own splashespooky.com. So make sure you sign up for that newsletter, because if my account ever gets deleted or banned or someone reports me or just disappears tomorrow, splashespooky.com is still going to be there. And you want to get the emails because you don't want to miss out on stuff.
Ooh, that is a lot of work. How do you balance it all?
I mean, well, right now it's 10:08, and right after this interview, I have to go Halloween hunting and then run errands and then come home and do some writing. I work full time and I'm a parent. It really is a scramble every single day, and you just kind of have to find moments to do things, or just be okay dropping something to do the spooky thing that you need to do. Like last year when McDonald's dropped the info about the buckets, I think I was at work. I didn't tell work I was stepping away, but I stepped away for about 30 minutes to work on a blog post for that, to share it and get it up because I had to. But you have to be okay with doing things like that. And you have to be okay with telling your friend, hey, I can only hang out for 2 hours a day because I have to go home and write this blog. You have to stick to that schedule. You just do. And it's going to be a scramble and it's going to suck, but I do it because it's fun. And I like being the first to post things, so I have to just rush.
That's funny. You like to be the first to post things, while I like to be the first to ghost things. Ooh. Let's take a break to hear some very important messages.
What kind of ship does Dracula have? A blood vessel.
What do you call two married spiders? Newlywebs.
Why did the witch grab her broom after robbing a bank? To make a clean getaway.
What do you call a buff pumpkin? A jack-o'-lantern.
Melissa, what is the vetting process for featuring something on your blog? I see spooky news, summerween, nostalgia. I could spend hours browsing on here, but I can't because I'm a ghost and I don't perceive linear time. Anyway, Melissa, your vetting process?
It always has to be something that's spooky, for one, because I do get pitches for things that aren't spooky. I think one time a company that was selling I think it was rugs, and they weren't even Halloween rugs, and they wanted me to post on my page, and I was like, no. So it obviously has to be spooky. And it just has to be something that I would share organically, whether or not I'm being paid to do it.
Do you ever blog about scary pancakes? I don't, because it gives me the crepes. What was the coolest news you reported on so far?
It's not the coolest, but the one I like doing the most is the Starbucks pumpkin spice latte date. That has been key to the Splashes Spooky brand since I started it. Every year around it's mid-June, I think I do this in early July, I start calling about 25 different Starbucks, starting near Seattle. That's where I kind of start. And then I start calling local ones to see when it's coming out.
Ah, pumpkin spice lattes. I fall for them every time.
And it is a wild goose chase, and people think you're crazy because it's July when you're asking them. I love doing that. because people love sharing that information. And if they hate Starbucks, they'll comment and say they hate Starbucks, and it boosts my engagement.
You know what else is a classic fall beverage? Theraflu. Melissa, why is the Halloween spirit so important to keep alive?
Oh, because life sucks. Because life, like, work wears you down. Life wears you down. Like, right? You read about terrible news every day. It's important to keep the spook alive because it's just fun. It's an escape from, like, how boring regular life is, you know? Like, why not decorate your house with jack-o'-lanterns every day? If it makes you smile, like, who cares? You know, we need to keep these things in our lives because they're just magical and whimsical and like fun. And I've always said, like, there's no wrong time to celebrate something that brings you joy. If you want to celebrate Christmas in July, do it. If you want to celebrate Halloween every day like I do it. Just I will always advocate for people just doing things that make them happy as long as it's not hurting anybody else. So that's why it's just fun.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Much like you, Melissa, I started the show in the height of the pandemic, interviewing folks on topics ranging from books to boutiques, from real estate to raves, from politics to porn. But the point of it all has always been to bring out the Halloween spirit in each and every one of my guests and viewers. The Halloween spirit is important because it celebrates creativity, community, tradition, and a sense of playfulness that enriches our lives and connects us to each other and our cultural history. Anyway, thank you, Melissa, for shooting the sheet with me today.
I love it. I love talking about Splash of Spooky.
My friends, I must ghost you for now. Until next time, goodbye.